Montgomery. He is the head football coach at West Hall High School, which is outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So to kick things off, Coach, can you just share with the audience a little bit about your career and your background?
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio at a place, Clyde High School, kind of about 900 to 1,000 kids. Good, kind of mid-sized school. We had a lot of success growing up, football wise. It was a football wrestling school, and then had some success in baseball as a basketball, football guy, and then more football my last couple of years of high school. But went from there and played college football for 2 years, and then ended up graduating from Bowling Green State University, which is about an hour west of where I grew up from. And then ended up in Georgia. Started out at Winterboro High School, coaching football and baseball, and kind of worked my way up into different levels of doing different things. Then became an offensive coordinator here at West Hall, where I'm currently at. We had some success and won a regional title and made the playoffs 6 years in a row. And then I got the head job. And there's been some changes in terms of district lines and things of that nature that's made things a little more challenging. There's no doubt about that. I've had a chance to play a lot of really good teams too. My first couple years as a head coach, we were 4A my first 2 years, which there's 7 classifications in the state of Georgia. And we had the toughest schedule 2 of those years in terms of all classifications, which is not what you want to, that's not what you want to inherit when you're a head coach. You look at it, and at the end of the year, 9 of the 10 opponents you played made the playoffs. One of them won the state championship in 4A. One of them won a state championship in 3A. And one of them played for it in single A. And you're like, that's not necessarily always the schedule you want to kind of, especially when things are changing a little bit with your, they open up some new schools around here, it kind of thins things out. And Georgia's a fast growing area. So there's been challenges, but there's been a lot of great things too. So starting region play this week and just kind of looking forward to getting to where we need to be. We've had opportunities to play different opponents in the non-region, and now it's every week matters, like 110%. Everything matters. Not to say it doesn't always matter, but this is your chance. It's like a new season. It's every week's a new opponent, and it's going 1-0 week to week, because this is what matters in terms of getting in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. So going back to your playing days, what position did you play, and how did that kind of help you get into coaching?
Yeah, my dad was a baseball coach. I was born in 1981. He started coaching in the 70s, and he coached all the way through 2006, 2007. So kind of grew up around a ball field. My dad was a baseball coach, but also was involved in football, basketball, all athletics, and actually grew up playing some quarterback. And then I grew, I'm a 6'3", 6'3.5", 290-pound man. So ended up moving to guard in junior high, and then ended up playing guard and tackle. And then that was kind of the position. I always wanted to play defense as well, but we used to platoon. We had a chance when I was in 8th grade, we won a state championship. I don't know if you can hear that background thing right there. It's driving me nuts. They've been on that thing here at school, but
no, that's fine. I can't hear
it. So was part of a successful high school program where it was able to kind of really impact me in terms of you looked up to coaches that were coaching you, looked up to history teachers that I had in high school and in junior high. And it was something that just kind of always really knew that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I won't lie about it. I mean, I went to school to teach history and coach, and that's what I'm doing. So as long as I continue to do that, I guess I wake up every day doing what I always wanted to do. Now, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of things have changed. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure you hear about these kind of things. Lots of changes. But coming to Georgia when I did, and seeing just kind of a difference in the way that the emphasis is on athletics. Georgia's second to no one in terms of having players and having the vertical alignment you need in schools to be successful in sports. So that's been a good thing, because it's just different than where I grew up. Not saying it's right, wrong, or good, bad, whatever you want to say, but we have spring football here. It's an all year round job. Our football players are in the weight room during the school day. We have a football class every single day where we're with them. We feed them. We have a nutrition plan. It's a very, I'm not saying that it's not happening in other states. I don't have time to really dig into a lot of them, but I know growing up, we had a good program, but we weren't able to do some of the things that I do here. I talked to a lot of my friends I played with that are back coaching in different states, and they have different limitations. So that's been a kind of a great thing in terms of the state of Georgia itself, and how they put an emphasis on the student athlete, and kind of making sure that the kids have an outlet, because I feel it's important for those kids that maybe on the brink of playing, not playing, maybe not making it through school. There's been a lot of that, because I've been doing this 23 years now, and seen a lot of kids with sports have saved them and gotten in their degree and been able to teach them leadership and some of the things you want to be able to teach as a program with character education and stuff.
So through your 23 years of coaching, how many years have you been a head coach now?
This is my 60 years as head coach for football. And it's a different hat when you're a head coach, no doubt about it. If I would tell anybody that's getting into coaching, especially young guys, you got to pick the brains of the guys that have been doing it for a while. You got to have thick skin too, because you got to understand that there's times, there's when you're the 20-year-old something and you're in that room with somebody, you got to learn how that person operates. How do they do their breakdowns? How do they do their teaching aspect? How do they do their install? And you gotta learn to kind of pick when and where you're going to have those conversations with different people to kind of really learn, because it's not always just, hey, we're in the middle of a playoff week, let's start talking about this. There's times and places throughout a year that you got to really show that emphasis. And I had to go about it kind of starting from the bottom all the way to the top. And that was, painting fields, you name it. I guess that's also being an offensive lineman too. I'm about getting the work done, and I still am using the head coach. I'm not afraid to be the guy that's doing the laundry, passing out the laundry. There's just those small jobs. I feel like those little things add up to the big things. So I want to see more and more coaches. I want to see more and more coaches do it that way, because now people want to be a coordinator in their second year. They want to be 24-year-old coordinator, and they want to be head coach at 27. And hey, man, if that's what you think is the answer, and there's some people that can do it, don't get me wrong. There's some people that are organized and awesome, but it takes a lot of experience to understand how these things work. And I don't think you ever truly know. That's a blessing and a curse. The big pro of being a head coach, you're going to have every day is going to be different. There's going to be 5 things happen every single day of a school day, especially in season, that you probably did not see coming. That's probably just minimum. Now, they're not all bad. I mean, sometimes they're great things, but there's just small things, and everything comes to you. So if a kid's acting up at a softball game, you're going to hear about it. Someone's not doing right in their class. That could be freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You're going to hear about it. Anywhere in the community, you hear about it. So if you really love X's and O's, being a coordinator is kind of the best spot to be in. I always tell my coordinators, I said, you guys got the spots that haven't been one myself, that if you like working on all that stuff all the time and having your mindset on it, then that is the role for you. If you like dealing with everything under the sun, being the head coach is the spot. So there's pros and cons to both. There's no doubt about that. But I think sometimes, there's kind of a high, people put so much emphasis on being the head coach, whereas being the coordinator sometimes is just as important, if not more important. Yeah. Especially the bigger programs where you got 20 some odd coaches, where a head coach is handling so much of the culture, the agenda, and kind of the CEO of making sure all of his other coaches, all of his programs, his 7th grade, his 8th grade. We're in charge of our junior Spartan program, which starts at 6-year-olds, our 6-year-olds to our 12-year-olds.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And you've got to have people that you trust, you put them in place and you empower them to do a good job, I think, or there's just no way of doing it. When I first started coaching, head coaches would be calling plays. There'd be 5 coaches and 3 lay coaches out there. It was just different. Everything now is specialized, whereas, they go to trainers and they want instant feedback. They want different things that take place that is not necessarily what it was, 10, 15 years ago. So I've seen that stuff change.
Yeah. So you talked about attention to detail and how that's helped you as a coach. How has that impacted your team's culture?
Well, we've had so there was my 2nd year as a head coach. That's the year we played the toughest schedule in the state, and I adopted kind of a mantra at it's called CTC, and it's been like that. It's just controlling the controllable. I'm big on you've heard it before, control what you can control, but I'm just big on control the controllable. And that's our attitude, our effort. That is how we prepare. That's how we do our lockers. That's how we do everything that we need to be able to do to be successful, because we're not necessarily going to have, looking at our demographics, we've had some Division I players, we've had some good players come through here, but we don't have year in, year out. We don't have blue chippers. I'm not going to have 5 or 6 D1 guys every single year. That's not going to happen. That's not the way that the lines are. It's not where the talent level is. So we got to be able to build and develop players. And the only way we can build and develop players is we got to get to them usually in 7th and 8th grade before they even get to the high school, and got to keep them here and get them bought into what we do in the weight room and the way that we play. Because for us to be successful, we have to be more disciplined than teams that we play. We have some talent at times, don't get me wrong. I mean, I got some guys that are being recruited Division I players right now on my team. But that being said, we go against teams sometimes that have, top 100 players, ESPN. We go against some teams that are extremely talented. And for us to have chances, we got to be able to do things, those little things. It starts all the way. This isn't something that starts like week to week or day to day. This is something that starts, it never stops. And that's probably where I don't do as good a job as we need to do, is keeping with it in December, January, February. We're all in the weight room together. But having more coaches, more people just kind of being able to stay on top of kids, because I'm a believer that kids want feedback, especially in today's world. They get instant feedback from everything. So they want feedback from their workouts. They want feedback from their nutrition. They want feedback from their training. They want it on what their goals are. And it's not something you can just talk about, 1 week and then a month later revisit it. It's something that's got to be intentional, and it's got to be all the time. I feel like that's a change in just the way a kid recepts information and the way a team works now. And that's why I think you see a lot of the changing, even at the NFL level, college football, high school. You'll see different types of coaches doing different things, because the days of the guy ripping somebody and being you're doing it because you love this team. I don't think you see as much of that with players anymore. They got to know, what is their why? What is their why? Why are they playing? Why are they doing these little things? Are these little things going to add up to the overall goal of what they're trying to get to? And I'm real big on being intentional and them understanding how this all fits together.
Gotcha. So any last words of advice you would have for a younger coach, maybe you, like 10, 15, 20 years ago when you were just starting off?
Come early, stay late. I'm a believer, if you're not available, then how are you ever going to be, how are you ever going to really grow? You have to be available. A lot of people, start families, young ages, and there's different things. My thing is, the head coach, the coordinators, everyone has families. Everyone has significant others, kids, different things. Be very respectful of everyone's time, be very punctual, but understand that if you're not available, how can you ever grow? And availability for young coaches is huge. And don't be afraid to jump in and learn all the little things that go into football. For example, huddle with film. If you're really good at huddle and you learn all the nuances of it, man, you can get a job. You'll have a job forever, because it can be a tricky job. It can be where, if you're great at film, don't be afraid to embrace that. Don't be afraid to be the guy that embraces the understanding how the huddle sideline cameras work, or the filming in the end zone, or the field setup, or heck, pregame meal. How does pregame meal look? All these things that go into a program. As a young coach, the more you learn about it, the more you learn about all those little aspects, I feel like the more you can help the head coach, the coordinators, your director of football ops, and the more likely you are to actually have an overall understanding of how a program works. Because you got to be able to set budgets. You want to be a head coach, you got to be able to set budgets. You got to be able to fundraise. Well, I promise you, if you're going to be good at fundraising, you better not be afraid of talking to people.
Right.
You can be okay stopping places, rolling in with whatever brand you have on your shirt, and be able to sell your program and sell, hey, this is what we're doing, and we could really use some of your help, helping our program. And the younger coaches, the more they learn on that, the faster I think they can grow, because since really 2015, 2016, the amount of the X's and O's that is available at your fingertips, it's changed a lot. When I first started, we used to, I actually did VHS exchanges. We used to meet at McDonald's. We'd have about 5 VHSs, and you didn't have their number. People didn't even have cell phones. So it was all through the head coach. They would talk through the week. They'd talk to their head coach, and they'd say, hey, 7:30 a.m. tomorrow, we're going to need you to go to McDonald's and put the films on the hood of your truck, and this guy's going to meet you, and you don't know who you're meeting, what he looks like, you don't have his phone number. So, and then we would get those films, come back on a Saturday. This is after we've been up all night. And you would go through the films originally, put down formations and hit marks of what plays they ran. And that would be sometimes a 5-6 hour thing, where now on Huddle, we exchange those films. You got Huddle Assist, you send it in, and I'm not kidding when I tell you in 5 minutes, you can have all the info that used to take us 5 to 6 hours. So it's spoiled some people, because I learned things football wise, especially coaching multiple positions. I could go on for days about this. I was an offensive guy, loved offensive line play. Well, then I started coaching defense, and I started getting where my first 7 years as a coach, defense was kind of my thing. Started learning all the defensive stuff, linebacker play, outside linebacker play, D-line play. Wasn't never great in terms of secondary, but learned all the adjustments. I didn't want to coach the secondary, but those different guys out back there. Yeah. But learning just all that stuff really helped me also when I went back to the offensive side, know what defenses are doing to call plays, but just seeing all the different parts. I mean, that's my biggest piece of advice to a young coach. Don't come in and start coaching quarterbacks because you're a quarterback and then never coach another position, because you truly never understand how it all works together. And just being versatile, being available, those things go a long way. And I think the younger coach, you could be 22, 23 years old, and if you put the time in, you can climb the ladder a lot faster, because this post-COVID world, and I don't know how it is up there where you're at, but the post-COVID world, there's less people willing to volunteer their time. And it's not necessarily volunteering, but coaching supplements aren't always necessarily great. So they're going to put in a ton of time for not as much pay.
Right.
So I've seen less people willing to do it. And there's been some younger guys I coached 7-8 years ago that some of them are even on my staff. Some of them are off at different places doing bigger things, which is great. You kind of get that tree of guys going off and doing things. But the ones that work and are available and put that time in, they climb to the top a lot faster. So kind of talking about younger coaches wanting those positions. Well, some of them deserve it because they put in the time and learn things that has bypassed people that may have been doing it 10, 15 years that don't have the same passion, never learned how to do the huddle breakdowns in terms of the numbers and do some of the stuff that the younger generation can. So there's kind of a good mix of that as well. But just being available, I think that's the number one thing, being available, man, because it goes a long way to a head coach and to a program when you got a coach that says, hey, Junior Spartan Saturday, this Saturday from 9 to 12, coach, I'll be up there for you representing the program. Stuff like that. I mean, you don't find many people to do that anymore.
Right.
When you do find those are special people, because you know what? This person cares about the whole program. They want to learn. And there's nothing more that I love than actually dealing with people that want to climb the ladder, that want to be the best at their profession. I don't care if you're a garbage man. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. I don't care if you're working at a factory. I don't care if you're an accountant. That's what I try to preach to these kids all the time. Do the best that you can. I don't care what job you're in, where your feet are planted. Do the best job you can at the time that you're allotted to be there. And I think you just get a lot more out of learning, and you get a lot more out of life, and you actually get some satisfaction, because at the end of the day, if you're never satisfied, if you win games, I've been part of, like I said, I won a region championship. We went 9-1, and I think it was one of the most miserable years we ever had. We were never happy we didn't score enough points here. We gave up too many points. We went through that year not realizing how special of a team we had, how talented, and just keep pushing. And I'm not saying that that's not, I get that's how you do it as a coach, but sometimes you got to smell the roses a little bit. Sometimes you got to say, you know what, we're blessed to have this group and enjoy what we're doing, because year to year, you never have the same players. You don't ever have the same availability from injuries. You don't ever have the same coaching staff. So just enjoying those moments. And we preach that a lot during the week too. Really, I don't think there's ever been a time that I've had the same team for a pregame speech to game ever. I mean, there's always someone injured. There's always something that's happening when you got a roster of 80. But, a coach had something going on. So it's like, enjoy the moment you're there. Bloom where your feet are planted, and do everything you can to kind of make yourself as available.
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting more. So go ahead.
Yeah, I love that quote. That's from Dabo Sweeney, right?
Which one?
The bloom where your feet are planted.
I've heard it from many different coaches, but yeah, he definitely talks about that a lot.
Yeah, I love that. So, Coach, really a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for sharing everything, and best of luck the rest of the season.